up, and this first set is dead even.
Unbelievable combination.
Wow.
Beautifully done.
What a great spot.
Hello and welcome to the 2025-26 APTA Tour. We're live from the Aronimink Golf Club in Newtown Square, Pennsylvania, bringing you the 2025 Aronimink Open Grand Prix with live streaming brought to you by the APTA membership and our tour presenting sponsor, Corient. Tournament support, and there's been plenty of it here in Philadelphia, has been provided by the following local sponsors: Column Advisory, D2 Groups, MAPTA, Gwen Barnes Real Estate, RCM Certified Public Accountants, Total Platform Tennis, Porsche Main Line, Lotus Philadelphia, Xenon, McDonald's The Doan Family Enterprises, Commonwealth Capital, Primal Physical Therapy, Lululemon, Stateside, one of my favorites, First Form, Cisco, EAS Water, and Drip Coffee. I'm Patty Hogan, along with the one and only Chicago's finest Mike Raleigh, bringing you an amazing semifinal match featuring tournament number one seeds of B. Lopez and Taya Page up against Macy Elliott and Lisa Lalic. Our chair umpire for the match is Jack Taylor. Welcome, Mike.
Patty, I'm so excited, and thanks for having me.
Mike, this is going to be an amazing, highly anticipated matchup. I think when the draw came out, people were like, Macy, four-time national champ, won with Marcella Redesno, 3 straight with Lynn Burris. Lynn is taking a breather from competition this season, and Macy and Lisa teamed up, and boy, what a wonderful team they make, and this match is going to be wild, Mike.
Well, I think
her partner in the ad court from Morristown, New Jersey, Elizaveta Lalic. Elliott Lalic won the toss and have elected to serve.
that, as I was saying, between Mr. Taylor's little introduction of the players, I mean, all 4 players bring a tremendous amount of talent. I mean, just absolute pound the ball. So I think it's we're going to have a fantastic match here.
Yeah, it's a 2 out of 3 set scoring, Mike. As you know, with the women, the men play no ad, women traditional scoring. Lopez and Page took out Delmonico Gebbia in their quarterfinal match to advance here to the semis. And this is the top half of the draw that we're playing here on another channel, another exciting women's semifinal between 4 former national champs in the mix with Nicolescu, who has teamed up with Redesno for this tournament. They had a solid win in their quarterfinals early with Morgan and Sikora with an injured Charlotte Sikora, unfortunately. But anyway, they're in the other semifinals with Hanish and Zabori. But stay tuned, because this one's going to be a great one, Mike.
Yeah. And I got to call, I guess it was couple weeks ago, and Lalic was played against Lopez and Page and lost 6-2 in the third. I can't recall who. Remind me who Lalic.
Right, she played with Alexandre, I believe, in that match, Mike.
Oh yes, yeah, and it was Lalic. She absolutely hammers the ball. To me, it seems, I haven't seen her play live, but the flat forehand that absolutely just nukes it. So there it goes in that warm-up. You see her just
forehand,
take that ball up the deck.
Mike, backhand, I ran into her, a little while ago, and I truly look up to her a long way. She's one of the tallest women on the tour, and just her range is phenomenal. And I got some intel from their earlier match. I was curious to see how these guys would play, who would play what sides of the court. And I think in that match, Elliott may have started out in the ad court, Mike, but then Lalic went over and ended up playing a lot of the match from the ad court. So, as we know, the sport comes down to matchups, and they can put a lot of different looks out there for the opponents. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I think one of the things to kind of look for early in the match. I think it was Page's serve was a little shaky in that 3-set final just over a month ago. And She was just struggling with. I mean, I think the light was really bad. It was a morning, Sunday morning, but then as the sun kind of rose, she was struggling with just faulting, and they went to both. They were playing both back. But I tell you, Lalic, that's a lot of pressure.
Oh, to look up to that, Mike. I'm shaking from here thinking about it. Well, go ahead,
I
Mike.
think that's one of the things that I would look for early on is, boy, how do you handle that pressure of that big return coming back at her?
But Lopez Page looking for their third tournament win of the year. They won Montclair, as we mentioned, and they also won the Baltimore event.
You're serving?
And they lost in the finals of the Chicago Charities, correct? Yeah, so, boy, talk about a good year so far.
Yeah. We'll switch after 6. Yep.
Right, Macy Elliott to serve.
Mike, you mentioned Page's struggles. I think this match is going to come down to serving. I think that there's such firepower from all 4 women, and serving well and deep is going to be crucial. And we may see people stay back in this match at certain times, I think.
Well, and it's such an unfair advantage for the returners because, as we know, the server serving to a very small court or portion of the court with a relatively high net, and then you're faced with, that big drive coming from all 4 players can hit it off both sides. So there's really no place to hide.
Love.
We might not hear a lot of calling. B. Lopez has lost her voice. So
really?
You won't hear a lot of you, me, or whatever in any language. She's kind of getting over a bug. Not quite feeling 100%, but ready to go.
Back. 15 all.
We've seen Elliott waffle between serves. She won a national championship with a different,
15,
kind of a push serve, and then moved her grip and really came up big and worked super hard to develop really good kick serve. And you can see, I like that she's hitting it in the early going in this match. And I think you have to. I don't think you're going to be competitive with Lopez and Page too many times hitting this shot. Ooh.
30 all.
Yeah, that little return blitz can be problematic. I mean, I think in the long run, that's a play to be made.
40-30.
She kind of quickly pulled the plug on that big kicker, didn't she?
Mm. You hear the sound of that ball come off of Page's battle and off of Lalic's volley.
Yeah.
So Mike Lalic, I mean, had she taken that ball out of there, she hits a roller that stays like Ellie Hallbauer low, that kind of a really heavy thumping kind of roller.
Yeah, that I was really impressed with, and I've said this in a number of the matches already that I've called. I think in the women's game, the teams that not only hit it the best, hit that heavy roller, but also the ones that defend it the best are, in my opinion, throughout the season are going to come out on top.
I absolutely agree. To me, it's the defining shot. Because if you can't open up the court with your overheads, how do you get the great players to miss?
Yeah.
And you can see this whole game, Elliott's hit a majority of the overheads from that left position of the 2 players from this vantage point from behind. That's Lalic on the right side of our screen. Mike, name the player Lisa Lalic grew up playing tennis against who's in this tournament today.
Oh,
It's a tough one.
yeah, I couldn't even tell you, Patty.
I'll give you initials. AP.
AP.
I'll give you.
You better just give me the name.
Okay, let me give you. Mike, here's a clue. Sounds a lot like Anton. Anton Prosenko. I learned today.
Oh,
that they,
really?
Yeah. They knew each other from junior tennis in the Ukraine. Lisa's mom ran a junior tennis academy in Ukraine.
Well, and you see how both teams are just dialed in. I mean, a couple shaky returns, but nothing like a good long point to settle the nerves and get the team, just absolutely into mid-match form here in the first game.
Yeah, there's no such thing as working their way into it for 4 games. These guys all start lights out from the very beginning. It's quite remarkable. Yeah, that was a really good deep lob. Elliott went way back for from Lopez at that deuce court. Would have loved. I'm a big fan of the sneak and the blitz. I want to see him take advantage of that off of good lobbing.
Game, Elliott Lalic. Elliott Lalic lead 1 game to love in the first set.
Mike, because particularly, I would not blitz Lisa Lalic when she's about to hit an overhead from anywhere, because she can just unload with such force. And Elliott can as well, but Elliott was 3/4 depth and, hit an overhead that she took something off it. She was just trying to get some air under and get that ball deep. I'll look for that. So, Taya Page serving. That's Macy Elliott out of the deuce court, hitting that return. There's Lalic coming in, far side ad court.
Love.
And B. Lopez is up at the net, to the right of your screen.
$15 all.
And part of that miss there, I think, has a lot to do with the drive that's coming back, if that lands anywhere short.
And Mike, that's a great point, because you're thinking, here they are, one of the best teams in the country. How does she miss an overhead like that? Because she wasn't even thinking that Lalic would throw up a lob.
Right. Just the threat of. It's a great lob.
I mean, impressive start. 2 early quick lobs from Lalic. All of a sudden, you're Page and Lopez. You have to play her differently now, position-wise a little bit.
Oh.
30-15.
Another thing I think from that I just noticed watching Lalic in the final of Montclair was she missed a few volleys where she was redirecting the ball, and you kind of saw a similar one there, rather than just kind of playing the ball back into that deuce. She almost tried to make it too good. Mm-hmm. I would just say if she just tightens up her targeting a little bit, she'll take a miss like that out of it, and instead of having 2 to 3 volley misses, directionally, her hands are too good and her net presence is too strong to really have to worry about hitting a perfect volley.
It's another great point, Mike.
I got one more for the match, Patty. I'm going to hold it. I don't know what it is.
I mean, you're on fire. You're right out of the box. Great observations.
Yeah, when it comes, you'll know it. Wow.
40,
court
15.
action there.
Yeah, beautiful 2-hander from Lopez out of that deuce court. And that's the thing. There was an opening in the middle there. Elliott hadn't really slid over to defend the middle in that situation.
Mm-hmm. If you were playing Lopez and Page, where's your bailout spot?
You have to just hit the baseline with your volleys.
You got to hit 2 inches from the baseline. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's.
And I think it's similar.
Yeah. Go
Elliott
ahead,
Lalic. I mean, where do you put the ball with them as well? You know, they're really shrinking any defensive areas of the court to hit to.
Game, Lopez, Page, tied at 1 game in the first set.
Yeah, Mike, you know, when there are no bailout spots, I mean, most club level matches that you ever see play, there's usually 3 safe spots that you can find on the opposition.
Right.
But there are 0
15 love.
with these 4 women. That's how talented they all are. You know, and the thing is, you know, I'm a fan of, I'd probably see what Macy's two-hander. She can rip that ball. But, you know, if you put balls there, then it's less movement that Page and Lopez have to do for
30 love.
for the other, you know, as the shots keep coming at them. And I think over the course of a long match, you know, the less movement that you create on your own by spraying volleys and things, you know, it's going to help you out in the
40
long run.
love.
You notice what Lalic has done here in the last 2 points? She's serving, stand back, and then just crushing the drive, returning the return with the drive.
40-15.
Well, we mentioned that serving is going to be a big factor here, and you know, Lalic for her height, you know, she hasn't played anywhere near the number of paddle matches as all these other women, and you know, that's something I would expect. You know, I watched Ellie Hallbauer this year, and you know, you watched her serve 2 years ago when she made it to the finals of nationals with Nicolescu, and she's got a different serve. So it's kind of part of the evolution in this game for all these players coming from tennis.
Yeah, and isn't it interesting that that is kind of one of the last pieces of the puzzle?
It is.
That, you know, these top players are kind of getting.
Elliott Lalic. Elliott Lalic lead 2-1 in the first set.
And Mike, what I love about that is, you know, sometimes for us as teaching pros to convince our students to stay back, you know, early in a match, and they look at us like we're crazy. Isn't that just giving up the point? Where here you see Elliott and Lalic had it as a game plan against Page, you know, against both these guys, because they know how strong they are off the deck, you know, from both their forehands and backhands. That was a part of their tactic. Stay back, no big deal.
Yeah, but this crew is slightly, they've got all the tools to play as equally well in the back court as they do in the front court, right, at the net. And I always say that serving and staying back to me is let's try some other things first before we go into that. You know.
Right, you might move around your serve, try some Australian, maybe an I formation.
Yeah.
Things like that versus just staying back. I kind of went into the stay back category pretty quickly, Mike.
You go right.
When my
Well, I
serve
mean,
was
you were
horrible.
You are a Hall of Famer. I mean,
There were many times my serve was not the high point of any of my matches. And there were plenty of times where I just felt like, hey, I don't care. If I stay back, I love playing the baseline as well. No harm, no foul.
15 love.
And Mike, you know, to your point about Lalic, where maybe she goes for a little, like, you know, on her volleys, she kind of was totally changing direction, didn't come up with that shot there.
Yep.
but I loved how she
15
continued
all.
pressed. You know, usually signed in that hand-to-hand combat that the aggressor a lot of times wins those exchanges because they're pressing forward and the other players are kind of rocked on their heels. Boy, Elliott's not holding back either, is she?
No. You know, and that's the thing. Macy loves playing the ad court. She loves playing the deuce court. I love her forehand. I think at Montclair I was on the court, and she was just hitting some balls, messing around, and I was standing there trying to volley them. And her ball is so heavy, you don't quite appreciate it on the live stream as, you know, in person, the difference in that shot. So she can bring a super heavy forehand, and with that out of that deuce court, I mean, nothing's safe throwing that ball over there. And again, she's just.
When you say.
Okay.
Yeah, when you say heavy, what do you mean?
Like that ball.
What do you mean by heavy?
You know, when the ball comes off their paddle, there's this, when the ball comes off, it's the force behind it and the ability for that ball to just like dip so quickly coming at you, where, you know, that's, I mean, you see it a lot of times, and we see it a lot of times in the men's game, but we see plenty of those really heavy ground strokes now in the women's game as well. And, you know, what is it, like a 50-mile-an-hour ball, Mike, that's just dipping coming at you.
15-30.
So it's got a combination of pace and heavy topspin as well, right?
Yeah, that thing just dips. So, you know, the beauty of it is they make the net team play in really close to be effective as a volleyer against it, and that's going to open up some of the court for lobbing as well. And you saw that, in the first point when Lopez went back, or the second point of the match, and missed, kind of an easy lob, but she wasn't thinking that Lalic was going to lob at that point. So I always feel like that's the benefit when they can bring that heavy dipping ball. They make you play so much closer to the net. If they don't hit that shot, you can play off the net and kind of split the difference and cover lobs and drives equally, with a step or two in any direction.
Boy, Lopez and Page are doing a fantastic job with their volleys.
All.
Mike, we watch so many of these matches, and you watch the matches where there's so many return to serve, like a decent amount of breaks in each set.
30-40.
This match feels like break point opportunities are going to be rare. I don't know, because I just think they're so good as volleyers.
Yeah.
Game,
So
Elliott Lalic lead 3-1.
That's
first set.
Well, I'm saying I think that's such a big, huge moment here in this first set.
Yeah.
Break a serve on Lopez. So there's Elliott going with a total push serve here. And you can see, even though, Lalic and Elliott have not played a lot of matches together, effortless switching at the net. They both have a real good sense of where they are on the court at all times, where their partner is. Easy for them to just switch it around. So again, that's Macy Elliott, the left of our screen, hitting that overhead. It's B. Lopez, far side, in the deuce court. Taya Page, far side, ad court. And nearest to us on the screen, or now on the right side at the net with her back to us, that's Lalic. Liza Lalic. What a crowd here, Mike. This setup at Aronimink Golf Club is just second to none, and they've pulled out all the stops. There's tents up everywhere. The staff has just done an incredible job getting ready for this event, and kudos to tournament director J.C. Cotto, doing a wonderful job as always. Really quite a community effort to pull this event off here.
All.
The second Grand Prix of the season.
Yeah, I loved his hype video last week. I think it came across my my feed. I mean, clearly has done a great job in fundraising with, what do you have, 32 sponsors, local sponsors?
So many local sponsors. They had 16 families from the club who contributed to making this just an amazing event for players and fans alike.
15-30.
You know, so the thing, Mike, it's interesting with, you know, that screen error right there from Lalic. You know, Elliott can defend out of that corner. You know, I think she's superior in her defense with all the screenplay, and that's where Lalic just not quite as experienced as Elliott there, but the firepower off the deck that you get by having Lalic over in that ad court, and she can swoop in through the middle, make you pay for so much. So that's kind of like the balance game, and that's
so
you know, for Pejic and Lopez, if they can get balls into Lalic's corner. But in order to do that, you've got to hope that, you know, that's short lobbing from Lalic and Elliott, and as long as they, you know, but good lobbing will just protect that vulnerability a little bit.
Well, and it basically, if there's any, you know, shorts, you know,
40,
misses
30.
up screens, they're going to be outweighed by her offensive threat, you know, from the middle all the way into the corner there.
But because of the firepower from Lalic and Elliott.
Game, Elliott Lalic. Elliott Lalic lead 4-1 in the first set.
I'll further that point after your sponsor read.
Okay, Corient is the official wealth sponsor of the APTA's 2025-26 season. Corient is a fee-only wealth manager who puts their clients at the center of everything they do. Learn more at corient.com.
So Elliott Lalic up 4-1 the first set, and we have a very special guest joining us for a little bit, the one and only Bruce Redpath, who ran the most remarkable nationals last year out of Philly Cricket Club, and he's here with a heavy heart. We're going to talk about some pals of ours in the paddle community. And Bruce, why don't you talk about Susu?
4-1.
Well, thanks for having me. First of all, I didn't know I was going to cry during the middle of the match, but no. Our great friend Sue Doherty, who was instrumental in not only our nationals, but basically any event that went on at Philly Cricket, unfortunately passed right after our nationals,
15.
and you know, we missed her. So thinking about her on a day like today, and she would be watching all these amazing matches.
And, you know, shout out to Matt, Mary Beth, who is celebrating her birthday today. Glens Falls Country Club, big round robin. Mary Beth was the MVP and birthday winner. Jimmy was up there as well. Shout out to Julia and Whit, Lucy and Bob, Charlotte and Jeff. What a remarkable family, that Gillette family. Those 4 women, just
Love
such
30.
a force as sisters. And, you know, the Philly area was touched by the loss of Lori Hissey as well last year, and she was another remarkable woman in the paddle community. And, you know, you and I had you knew Sue much longer than I did, but we loved both those women, and they were such positive forces and kind of the epitome
15-30.
of the platform tennis community, where they were just selfless individuals who did whatever it would take, were part of a team to pull off amazing, successful events. Lori, phenomenal job always with junior nationals, had a Radley run. We miss both those women, and a huge shout out to them. We know they're looking down, smiling, I think, tonight.
100%. Anybody who's having a cocktail, raise a toast to 2 of our favorite people that
I think we need a toast.
ever been here. That's maybe why
Cheers,
I brought
Bruce.
these. Yeah, cheers.
Hydration's important.
It is.
So, Bruce, you can hear the magic voice of Mike Raleigh. He'll fill us in on what's been going on here now.
Oh, we've got Elliott and Lalic are up 30-15. I tell you, Bruce, the paddle scene in Philadelphia, I was impressed by your team last year at the Nationals, and JC's doing a bang-up job out there now. It's just, it's got to be easy with all that support, huh?
Well, I think we're fortunate to have had some of these folks we're talking about be leaders, and the McAvoy, Stephonics, the people that have taught us on the men's side how to get together, a good event, host it, and everything else. JC's done a great job today. Got sponsors, got people out here. It's a perfect paddle day. The talent out here is just insane. But
30 all.
On the men's side, 2 teams into the quarters. It's a big deal, right, for us. Up and coming pros that are into it and battling and love it.
Bruce, another reason I brought you in, because today, I think coming up, we have a big 60th birthday for Keith Studnick, and you said you would come and sing on air. Happy birthday with Mike, right?
100%. You just have to just text me. I'll be right back
okay,
up. Yeah,
okay.
I'll go meet Raleigh wherever he is. We'll do it side by side. You guys just wait for me.
You got it.
Love it.
Happy birthday, Keith.
Yeah, another huge proponent of all these activities, running the Philly Open for so long and all his contributions to MAPTA.
And Bruce, I don't know how long we've known each other. We're both about 39, but the paddle community to Philly, the reason I come down here anytime I can get to Philly is because of the Philly love that everybody shows toward us, all the players, all the fans, and I just think that's Lori Hissey, Sue, that's part of their legacy. Keith, you, everybody, Tim McAvoy.
40-30.
I just go back to when I started playing, how I got hooked because of Philly paddle into the sport of platform tennis, me personally. And then I went to Chicago, and then it's the Chicago love, and you go to tournament, you get the Cleveland love, the Detroit love. So, it's such a community that is so fun, and there's a great interview with Guillermo Nunez on a podcast called Cutter's Rule, and he talks about the community, and such appreciation for the job the APTA is doing to showcase the game's great talent. So we thank everyone.
Yeah, it's a special sport, special people, and not only the players, but to the organizers, to the support staff, to the fans. It just
the pros. If I combine the number of years
Advantage,
I've known
Lopez, Pejic.
both of you guys, it's huge, and that's why we love being a part of this. Mike and I love kind of being part of the live stream team because our knees don't work like they used to, but we like watching the action and calling the action.
Yeah, I can still run my mouth as well as I could 30 years ago.
If you and I had a race, there would be no winner.
So true.
It'd still be going.
Well, I have to say I want to, thank Mike also for, doing the finals last year amongst all of the other things, and all of you guys who put all your time in to
Elliott,
do the live
Lalic.
stream. It's just a total bonus, and much of the time, another local rock star for our paddle community that's still here and still does a lot of quiet behind the scenes work is Cindy Prendergast. And I was starting my early career fighting for President's Cup, doing stuff in the late 90s. And Mike, could you remember maybe in like the 1998, 99 timeframe, there might have been a women's team that went undefeated throughout that time. I don't know if we know anybody that might have been on that team, but pretty remarkable. And, she never would really say it. A lot of stuff that, Patty doesn't talk about. But, I also want to give a little shout out to our buddy right here who's, pretty remarkable.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is an amazing feat that's rarely accomplished.
Patty, can you run us through a little bit?
We won the first match. Then we won the second match. Then we won the third match.
How
then
many
we won
tournaments?
The fourth
How
match.
many tournaments?
Then we went to another tournament. Clean. The closest we came to losing was in the 16s of nationals. I remember a team from Connecticut, and we lost the first set, and we were horrible. And then we looked at each other like, we got to figure this out fast, and we figured it out fast.
Run the table.
We ran the table. Super fortunate.
You can't win them all if you don't win the first match you play of the season.
Exactly,
so,
Mike.
Well
Don't
done.
underestimate the first match of every tournament. Keeps the streak alive. And I was so lucky to play with so many great partners, but none better than Cindy Prendergast, just a phenomenal Hall of Famer. What a great team with Lauren Zink. They were just amazing. Won 3 nationals together, I think. Cindy's won mixed nationals. She's done it all. And she is one of the forces behind the scenes that you mentioned. She's got great company, Stanford Screen Printing, and helps every tournament pull off all their stuff.
Elliott, Lalic.
It's not easy.
Elliott, Lalic lead 5-1.
When you're a tournament director, knowing how many favors of this to order, how many sizes, all that stuff, and when you can work with someone as amazing as Cindy is in that process, it makes it easier for everybody. So, wow, 5-1 whooping going on here right now, Mike.
Yeah, but the crazy thing is, the scoreboard says 5-1, but the games themselves
right
are, I hate to use the old saying that every game has gone to deuce, but
Yep.
I mean, it's been. If you're not watching at the scoreboard, we're a few points here and there from being,
Love 15.
Right.
3-all.
Someone asked me, what makes Macy Elliott so amazing? And I said, when the money's on the line, I'm betting my nickel on her every single time. Because she doesn't back away from the pressure situation. She has that awareness in those moments. Someone's going to make a difference of the 4 players.
Yeah,
And
wide.
I think
wide.
she
I had it
always, I've always seen that she has a willingness to
15 off.
insert herself in that moment versus shying away from that moment, if that makes sense.
She embraces the moment. Yeah.
Bruce, how many people are outside when you just came in? How about this setup? The tent, the bleachers, the place is packed.
It's awesome. It's building steam too. People are dropping off people and coming back, and players are showering and coming out there. But Aronimink always draws a great crowd and supports this event. And
15-30.
place looks great. They just finally got this construction finished, and their new racket facility looks awesome. So they've done a great job.
Yeah, you saw that Porsche out front that Mike Raleigh pulled in, and then the Lotus that I pulled in. I'm liking the Lotus,
15-30.
but I'm liking the Porsche as well. I just like the color of one better than the other. Is that how you choose what car you're going to get, Bruce?
Yeah.
Mike, do you go by car color? Or
Yeah, it's
car?
got to match my shoes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you need the full ensemble.
That's right.
15-40.
Driving gloves.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Boy,
I
you see here,
40.
Pejic and Lopez coming.
they need
They're
this.
not. Yes.
Right? They need, even if they don't come back in this first set, they need this as a statement game for themselves, I think.
That's back. 30-40.
Good call by Jack Taylor. Nothing gets by Jack.
Deuce.
Do you think that had to do with Lopez losing her voice, wasn't able to commit and call that?
Possibly, Mike.
Advantage Lopez
Maybe.
Page.
Bruce, you were nice not to enter this tournament, give all these other young guys a chance to play. How impressive is what you're seeing out on the courts here?
Game Lopez Page. Elliott Lalic lead 5-2 in the first set.
I think it's amazing, just the level, especially on both sides. I think the
New ball,
women's game
ladies.
has become so much, so more popular,
New
I think,
ball.
in many ways, because the men are just so talented and so good. Not that the women aren't talented, but I think the men's game is just such a grind and so hard. I think the no-ad really helps a lot, but I was standing next to a friend of mine who plays down a few divisions, and he said, holy cow, I can't believe how much better this game gets every
New
year.
ball.
And the talent,
New
just
ball.
finding new ways
7
to win.
games.
And if you listen to Guille on the Cutter's Rule on that webcast, it's just about placement and pace
Thank you.
and putting things in there. It's just like so smart, and everybody's so good. It's, I was, they were a couple of them that were thankful that I didn't play today. But yeah, you're right, 100%. It's only Raleigh that he didn't have to call one of my matches. I wasn't sure you guys were going to do the back draw of the Consolation Reprieve, but
Yep.
Mike's game, he's ready for anything.
Yeah, and talk to the wall. So, Patty, let's talk a little
Here
bit
we go.
about how,
Okay,
in
Mike,
your Hall of
Mike
Fame
hold
car-
up 1 second. Bruce,
Yes,
I want to
ma'am.
thank you. Bruce is going to go join the crowd outside again. And Bruce, I want to thank you for coming in and saying those kind words. And we love you, and we'll see you on the return out there.
appreciate it. Thanks. Like Patty's
you.
1 of 11, I'm 1 of 6. I know when my time's up. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
yeah.
See you, bud. Okay, Mike, I didn't mean to cut off your question there, but I wanted to release Bruce.
Yeah, well, I was inquiring how the game, from your Hall of Fame career to now, how has the game changed?
Okay. The number of superior athletes out there, Mike, former, college tennis players, some who played on the Pro Tour. And so, in particular the women's game, you just have so much more depth and athleticism, and that racket skill level keeps going up, 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 Mike. So their trajectory when they enter the sport, oh my gosh, it's lights out. After a month, they can take out people who've played the sport for 2 decades. It doesn't really matter. And I think this young generation of pros, they don't really have a mental learning curve, where I always felt like when I came into the game, I had to convince myself that I could do this and could compete against, a higher level opponent. I remember playing against Fulton and Tucker 1 trillion years ago, and I think Butterfield and Tucker even going further back, and I think Pat Butterfield hit a drive at me in the warm-up, and it was my first paddle match I ever played. And Hank Irvine, the legendary pro out of the Short Hills Club, had lent me a demo paddle that delaminated on the spot. And he told me that I should invest in my own paddle. I'd really only played the sport for about 3 weeks at that point in time, I think. But anyway, it's just the firepower, the athleticism, Mike, just amazing.
Yeah, it's just how dynamic the game has become, both on the men's side and the women's side.
40-15.
Right, the pace, the spins, what they can do. And Mike, I think that they may have trained, I think these guys might train a little differently than you and I did back in the day.
Train?
No.
Practice.
Game, Lopez, Page. Elliott, Lalic lead 5-3.
I mean, they're all committed. Obviously there's money on the tour now. Everything's different. There's so much streaming. With it, it's gaining the field more toward a pro tennis type of events, especially an amazing facility like Aronimink Golf Club here today. And so you just watch it, and because of that live streaming, all these new players in the game can watch what these great players do. And, I remember Hank telling me, just watch the best players. Just isolate on one player. Watch their footwork, watch their racket preparation, and then start paying attention to when they're on the position to the left at the net, where they hit the ball, and when they're in the position to the right, where they hit the ball. And so I've always come to think of the sport as, there's 4 different positions that you play, 2 from the baseline, 2 at the net. And, the more shots that, are well suited to come from one person given their court position, the better you're going to be. And I think the player, the development of all these players, Mike, with their racket skills, you just watch them out here working on a cutter, and, you didn't see a cutter in the women's game, and now you see, there's probably 8 women out here who can, hit a cutter in a match at a key point.
Yeah, point-ending cutters.
Yep.
15 love.
Boy, did you see how there we had Elliott and Lalic just kind of slowed things down, trying to pump the brakes here on this 2-game run from Lopez and Page.
And you saw right there, what makes Missy Elliott so amazing? Like right there, Page just unloaded, and we talked about that heavy dipping ball, and you saw Elliott just set her paddle, Mike, aimed her paddle, straight ahead, and just kept her paddle still, just let the pace from Page's drive, let the ball rebound off her paddle. Beautiful volley, kept it away from her, so Page couldn't, she wanted to kind of pull off a blitz, and she couldn't. And that's what great volleying does. It prevents the team from moving in close. Short volleys, watch out.
Yeah, it's real impressive how the best volleyers, and everybody that's on the live stream can volley, but how all of them, they're quiet, the hands are. It's so chill, there's
They're
very
like
little.
you, Mike. They're just so chill.
Oh, of course.
You just wait for it, and the world comes to you if you wait.
Yeah. Tell that to my wife and boys, would you?
For sure. Shoot me herself.
Yeah.
So 5-3, semifinals. Aronimink Golf Club. Beautiful, beautiful facility here. Mike, the padel, the pickleball, this setup, the swimming pool, the swim house. These guys hit it out of the park here with all the, all the upgrading that they've done to this club. Is just quite remarkable when you pull in here.
Yeah, and I think that this has happened across the North Shore. I know that, that gone are the days of, we're a golf club, where you see, the clubs making huge
30
commitments
love.
in, financial as well as building and in non-golf sports. And
40 love.
it's really impressive. I think in order to kind of be relevant in today's world, the clubs need it.
A couple of set points here. Elliott and Lalic up against the tournament number 1 seeded team of B. Lopez and Pejic. See, when Elliott's over in that ad court, she can do this all day long. They can pummel her. They can do whatever they want. It really doesn't faze her.
Yeah, she made that play look easy because those two overheads were not nice.
But that's why I keep talking about the overhead and the significance in the development of all these women's teams, with that really being able to hit that heavy overhead, all the slices, the cutters. You got to have it to take out the game's best.
Talk about unfazed there.
And just, Mike, the length of the points that these players play, it's because they're all so good.
Right.
Wow, what a heavy forehand out of that ad
Game
court
in
from
first
Lalic.
set, Elliott Lalic, 6 games to 3.
Mike, we'll be right back in just a moment after these messages right here on the APTA YouTube channel with live streaming by Joho and match statistics provided by Court Director.
At Corient, wealth management begins and ends with you. We believe the more personal the solution, the more powerful the result. We treat your goals as our own. We never lose focus on the life you want to build. And our experienced advisors design custom-built strategies to help you get there. It's time for a wealth management experience as sophisticated as you are. It's time for Corient.
Welcome back to the APTA Tour. I'm Patty Hogan, along with Chicago's finest Mike Raleigh at the Aronimink Golf Club with semifinal action between our tournament number 1 seeded team of B. Lopez and Pejic up against, I believe they are the 4th seeded team here, Macy Elliott and Lisa Lalic, and 6-3 first set. Just one service break, and it was on Lopez, in about the 4th game, Mike, and that was it.
Well, and it, you called it. You were like, okay, it's going to come down to serving. And, I mean, Lopez and Page, sorry, Patty, I think you were looking at Elliott. They broke early. And then.
Right, sorry. Yep.
And then didn't Page and Lopez have two
Elliott,
breaks as well?
Not certain. Let me go to Court Director and go to the stats.
Yeah.
I was distracted by Bruce Redpath. I was a little off my game there because, when Bruce is here, you got to hang with Bruce.
I mean, he has that effect on a lot of people.
First set, Elliott Lalic 6-3. Second set, Page to serve.
They had 2 opportunities. Elliott and Lalic converted on both of them. All right, Taya Page. Little sidearm type of serve here. Start off the second set.
15 love.
In other women's semifinal action, it's a beautiful night as the sun goes down. Look at that sky that
15 all.
we just got a good shot from Joho on.
So, Patty, as we start this second set, what do you think that Lopez and Page have to do to turn the tides here?
I was just thinking that, Mike. What would we do if we were in there matching outfits?
30-15.
It's good. Who gets to wear the headband, though?
You would get the headband for sure. And I'm just thinking about you in the green leggings. I mean,
Man.
Is green your lucky color? Because that's their lucky color, just so you know.
Yeah, is it? Okay, well, good to know. Yeah, I like green.
Okay, so here's the thing. They're trying to figure this out themselves as we speak because we haven't seen Lalic and Elliott play a lot. So they didn't really know what to expect. I think Lalic and Elliott are doing a good job of keeping them a little bit off balance with, a little bit of switching from the baseline here. And I love that play, Mike. Even for club level players, because I feel like so many teams get into such a rhythm on their overheads and their volleys, and a way to disrupt it is by switching courts, as the baseline team, given that you each have the ability to play both sides fairly well. You can't switch if you've never played the ad court once.
Yeah.
I'd be curious if Elliott tags one of those serves. I might think about hitting that ball right at Lopez off of Page because she's really not hitting it over 10 miles an hour right now.
And we saw Lalic make that play in the end of the second, or end of the first set. She hammered the ball down the line on an underhand serve, and they just, was it Lalic or was it? I don't know. Sorry. But anyway, it was an underhand serve, and they hammered it right at the net player, and they just let it go through and gave up the net.
But I think it's the play. And Elliott, just like I said, she can clock that forehand.
Game, Lopez Page. Lopez Page lead 1-0 in the second set.
So
Elliott Lalic won the first set 6-3.
I like what I saw in that game from the net from Lopez and Page, Mike. And sometimes when I watch them play, I feel like they're very reactive versus taking the initiative and having specific roles, as we have talked about a lot. Someone who's really there looking to volley the more difficult drives and someone who's looking to cover the lobs. And I think that game bodes really well if they can play a really good structured game just like that game. And we had Lalic over in that ad court, and she has a little bit of inexperience, and so I think if they can get themselves organized and she's over there, have at it and see, they held serve fairly easily there.
And I think the other thing you noticed, the number of overheads that were hit into Lalic's corner, where they were hitting it heavy and basically right at her. And I think, she is such a presence on the court. She's so tall that sometimes movement for some of those players, although I haven't seen it, but forcing her to move to play a screen kind of can compound some difficulties for her.
Mike, coming up after this match, men's semifinal action. Graham McNerney and Adam Morgan, our defending national champs, escaped. A great match. Fraser Rams took the first set from them 6-2. McNerney Morgan came back, won 6-1, 6-4. And one of our matches following this will be their semifinal matchup against Guy Nunes and Mark Powers. Murphy and Ong. Tom Murphy, Andrew Ong got through the semifinals, taking out a phenomenal Baltimore team, and they will be up against our tournament number 2 seeded team of Alvi Regalado and Jose Salazar, who escaped
30 love.
An amazing match they had with Ethan Leon and Matt Morio. Another phenomenal young, great Philly team. 7-6 first set, 11-9 tiebreaker, and then 6-4 for Regalado Salazar. So, phenomenal paddle everywhere. And I'll tell you, Mike, Nunes Powers had an amazing match against Gabe Friedrich and Louis Valclair. And Friedrich and Valclair gave those guys all they could handle. Nunes and Powers won this first set 6-4. And then Gabe and Louie came up big time with a 6-1 win in the second set, and then Nunes Powers prevailed 6-4 in the third.
That's some star-studded draw, but also with some names that you don't necessarily always see playing together, and some new teams, new players. I mean, Leon and Moyo, that is, boy, they're fun to watch.
Oh my, they are so talented. They had a amazing match this morning. I saw it over at Waynesboro Country Club. They took out Broderick and Christian, 1-3. Broderick looked like he's nursing a little bit of a calf issue, but taking nothing from those guys. Those guys just played a rock-solid, phenomenal match against those guys.
40 love.
And look at Lalic with that height, 5'10 and 5'11, right on top of the net, just hitting that down-up overhead, just dying back in Pejic's corner.
I love the use of the drop shot to shake the court up. That's a shot we didn't see 5 years ago. The side back rolling drive off the screen.
I mean, any shot you see out there on the men's tour, you see on the women's tour now.
Tied 1 game all. Second set.
Would you say that it's about a season to a season and a half, kind of where it starts coming into the, from the men's game into the women's game? It's about a season behind. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, that's a good one, Mike. I've not heard that before, but I like it.
I mean, you look at the use of that heavy, overhead, that rolling overhead kind of hard into the back screen. That was, a number of seasons, a season or two ago, that it really came into the game in the men's side.
Yep, and then the roller develops as a result of the shot given to them. So it all kind of comes together. Lopez Page are looking for their third tournament win of the year. They won the first event at Montclair over Alexandre and Lalic. And then they
15 love.
Pulled out a win in Baltimore, beating Morgan and Sikora. So they also, Lopez and Page also had a final in Chicago, losing to Hanish and Sabori. So they're looking to get into their fourth final early in this season here on the APTA Tour.
15 all.
That was a nice dig there from Elliott off that left court serve.
Mike, for those enjoying the stream, if you have any questions you want to ask of Mike Riley, put it in the chat, and we'll see if we can tap into that brain of Mike Riley.
It's a dangerous place to be. It's a dangerous place. See, that's something Page and Lopez have to watch out for. Lalic coming in, kind of following that drive up.
15-30. Wow.
So that's a great shot of B. Lopez. B was the 2024 mixed national champion with Alvi Regalado. They beat Bostrom and Hanisch in the finals of that event. B was born in Spain. She grew up with a famous tennis player named Alcaraz. I think you may have heard of him.
Man, can you imagine that?
True or false, Mike? B and Alvi were both U10 national champions in Spain.
True.
You got it.
And now, are they a couple off the court as well?
Yes, they
Is
are.
that correct? Okay.
Yes, they
That's-
are. A
15,
lovely couple
40.
off the court. B used to be a teaching pro, but she's got a corporate role now, works in pharmaceutical marketing at a company called Equals 5.
30-40.
Lalic teaches some paddle out at Essex Hunt Club with her husband Sven, and also some tennis out at the Maidstone Club where they anchor the teaching during the summer. Paige played college tennis at Ole Miss. And she's another one of these players who she came here, played tennis. She was a psychology undergrad, and she ended up getting a master's in finance. There's a lot of master's degree out
Boy.
there, Mike. What's your master's degree in?
Just hard work and BS, I think. It's a duel. I had a duel.
You and I went to grad school together, I think. We might be going back for our doctorate soon.
Yeah, let's go. Was it me, or is this pace of play slowed down just it's like they pumped the brakes just a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
As I've said that, Elliott steps to the middle and
Boom.
pumps a forehand
Boom.
between them.
Game, Elliott Lalic. Elliott Lalic lead 2-1 in the second set. Elliott Lalic won the first set 6-3.
And Mike, you know, we talked about, like, she moved forward. She had a lot of movement going on, ends up hitting a winner. And just, you know, her intention was just to volley that ball straight ahead. You know, you talked earlier how Lalic is a phenomenal player, but tends to redirect her volleys a little bit. And I think you and I are both fans of the more you have going on, just pick a target straight ahead. Try to simplify things to limit the amount of unforced errors.
Yeah, and it's also limited the movement for her too, right? If she volleys in front of her, she doesn't have to move to defend the next shot. But if she adds an angle, she's got to shift with the angle.
Exactly. See, Paige and Lopez, they're giving way too much room away in front of the net.
15 love.
And because Lalic hits that dipping ball, and you see they're both closer to the service line than to the net, they're dead. You just knew it was a matter of time. And that was a great instinctive play by Lalic to move in on that situation and close out that point. So this is where I think Lopez and Paige, they've got to commit when they know a
15
drive's
all.
coming. I really want them to,
I had it back. Yeah.
you know,
Right?
go.
Yeah.
They both have to go
15 all.
forward in that situation. They know there's no way it's going to be a lob. And I just think you can't hang out and just, you know, hedge your bets.
Yeah, and you've seen Lalic make that play where she steps forward when she knew that Lopez or Page were going to drive it.
Yep,
She'll
yep.
close down on that net.
Barely.
It's interesting. You see how Lopez and
One
Page
ball late.
resisted the pull of going in,
right.
even though Lalic
15-30.
stayed back there, Mike. They both stayed back as well. And, you know, are Lopez and Page more comfortable at the net or on the baseline with this team? I think from the baseline. Do you agree with that?
I do. I think, you know, they up at the net, I do think they're playing a little bit too far off, but also I'd like to see them playing a little bit tighter together.
You mean when you see how much space is in between the two of them from this vantage point?
Yes, it's a perfect example.
And look at
Wow.
that
30
heavy
all.
dipping forehand. And Paige, you know, was hedging her bets there, trying to cover, you know, covering the entire court because Lalic is hitting the ball, and you have no idea where she's going to hit the ball. But that's not going to work against her. You've got to take away her drive first. She beat you with a lob, saying, "Good job, Lisa."
Right, right.
See, that's a good lobbing spot out of that deuce court. Causes indecision for the net team when there are two righties. And that's why we promote a lot of play it over toward that ad court with two righties. It's just a little easier for your court coverage on the next shots. But they don't want to go anywhere near Lalic right now, that's clear. But again, they're pretty far off the net. And, you know, what a combination
40-30.
that you're seeing, the firepower from Elliott and Lalic working together here. You know, I feel like they are so calm about their approach to this entire match throughout. Really impressive.
Well, yeah, and I think that drive from Elliott, you know, the intent there was to see if they can, you know, she can force a short volley into Lalic's side and then let Lalic unload on it. She actually hit a great off-speed roller because, you know, the volleyers were off the net.
Game,
Boy.
Elliott Lalic. Elliott Lalic lead 3-1 in the second set.
All right, 3 in a row. I think it's all about volleying. I mean, I'd almost give up the net, Mike. If they don't want to close in, they're almost better off just letting the ball go through and take their shot from the baseline, I think, at this point. Because just constant pressure from Lalic and Elliott.
Love 15.
And that overhead, Mike, again, Lalic, that's the second one that she's hit where she's just on top of the net, and with her height, she can just hit that down up, and that ball just dies in the corner. So you see, you know, they're just keeping it away from Lalic, playing everything over to Elliott in that deuce court, and Elliott's playing a phenomenal chess game over there. You know, she just
15 all.
she's really good at just taking what her opponents give her, forces it a little bit, but still staying with really high percentages. So that's Taya Page serving. That's B. Lopez up at the net. Taya's sporting that Mike Rowley headband.
Yeah.
That's Macy Elliott, far side in the deuce court, and Lisa Lalic in the far side on the ad court.
30-15.
You know, we saw two missed drives long, Patty, from one from Lalic and one from Elliott. I think I like them both. You know, they've been doing a great job and it was a positive miss long. Maybe they hit it a little bit with too much steam, but boy, I wouldn't change that.
Mike,
for
I
love or
love,
money.
Yeah, I love that comment that you're making because I think there's good misses and bad misses, and those were good swings, the exact shot to hit, and you know they're sometimes errors will come with it. So I totally agree.
You notice that move, Lalic? I mean,
Yeah, let me go close 15 feet to my left by just sticking my paddle out and me taking one step.
40-15.
That's what I'm talking about, her wingspan. Ooh,
yeah.
second to none on the women's tour from what I can see. And you see Elliott just putting that ball in the middle, indecision between
40,
Page and
30.
Lopez. Who was going to hit that prior volley? And then, you know, someone came up with it, but as an afterthought, you put the ball and you just lay it on Lalic's paddle, lights out. She's going to make you pay every time. So the first game of this set, I thought Page and Lopez did a really good job in that set, but I feel like it's fallen off a little bit, their disciplined approach to how they're going to cover the net. And, you know, and the fact that they just don't close in when they know a drive is coming is probably the biggest factor out here in this match.
Well, and you also see the struggle to work the ball in and out of the deuce corner for two righties against a righty on the deuce side. It's not the same as working the ball, you know, when you're at the net for two righties into the ad side. I call it, they're kind of swimming upstream. It's a little bit harder. There's more indecision, and you've got the threat of the forehand.
Wow. Talk about a 1-2
long,
punch.
long.
Yes.
That's
And
one.
it was all set
boom.
up.
Game.
Yeah. And it was all set up by Elliott's lob on that diagonal, kind of in that valley between Page and Lopez, you know, between the two of them.
You know, Mike, of all the women on the tour, Paige has a beautiful and phenomenal service motion, I think, and she's just gone away from it altogether in this match. And, you know, it's a warmer day in Philly here, and the ball's pretty lively, bouncing up, and I guess she went to the sidearm to keep the ball down on Elliott a little bit. But I kind of like her to go back to attacking a little bit with her serve.
Yeah, I think, you know, if anything, force Elliott to, you know, just hit the heavy ball deep.
Yep.
You know, force her to play the ball,
Advantage
maybe drive the ball
Lopez Page.
off the screen. But Elliott hasn't tattooed one ball down the line at Lopez, has she?
Not yet.
Game, Lopez Page. Elliott Lalic lead 3-2 in the second set.
Yeah, you saw.
Elliott Lalic won the first set, 6-3.
You saw that fist pump with Page and Lopez. They know that was a tremendous hold right there in a must-have game, Mike.
That was big time. Big time.
Hey, Mike, real fast.
Ladies, new ball, that's 7.
You know, we gave a shout-out to Mary Beth Doherty for her birthday. Happy birthday, Mary Beth, and to Keith.
Thanks.
And there's other people in the
Thank
paddle
you.
world, around the paddle country, Mike, I'd like to give a birthday shout-out to. Wendy Chase in Hawaii, one of my former partners a million years ago. Katie Carson up in Saratoga. Pilar Mayer has a birthday coming up. She's out in Pittsburgh. George Zink, 4-time national finalist. Mark Holschneider's got a birthday.
3-2.
And Christine Treveloni Fensel. Happy birthday, everyone.
3 serving 2.
Patty, you're just an encyclopedia of birthdays, paddle knowledge. I mean, it's pretty impressive.
Well, thanks, Mike. The internet's an amazing thing. I mean, Mike, what did Page and Lopez do to get a break in this match? Is there anything that, like, if you were coaching them, there'd be a combination of shots that they might think about? Has any light bulbs going off in that masterful brain of yours?
15
Boy.
love.
You know, with their backcourt play, you know, you see here that we've got Elliott and Lalic are, you know, working Lopez on the deuce side. They're not just hitting to her, but when she does get that ball and she's choosing to lob, I think the placement of her lob could be a little bit more directionally cross court, kind of between the Elliott's right shoulder and Lalic's left shoulder.
40
Boy.
love.
And maybe on some of those drivable balls that Lopez is getting, to show the drive, but then hit a little block lob over Lalic as she closes in. I don't know.
I like
just a couple
that. I
thoughts
like
there.
that, Coach Mike.
Because Elliott and Lalic are doing such a rock solid job up at the net.
Right. I mean, Page and Lopez are going to need a little bit of an assist from Elliott and Lalic, and I don't really feel like Elliott and Lalic are going to hand too many points away, Mike.
Yeah.
Game, Elliott Lalic. Elliott Lalic lead 4-2 in the second set.
So, Mike,
Like in that game.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
in that game, how many cross court lobs did we see Lopez hit? From deuce
what's
to
the
deuce
answer,
corner.
Mike?
I think I saw one.
Yeah.
Out of every lob.
Okay. Yep. Mike, I was just going to mention, obviously, the tour has a break next weekend during the Thanksgiving holiday. We'll return the weekend of December 5, 6, and 7. We'll have 2 events on air that weekend. The Long Island Dwayne Hayden Invitational will be going along, as well as the Rocky Mountain Throwdown. Matt Puig's got a new event that he's created out at Arapahoe, and we'll look forward to that. The tour will take a break. It resumes January 3rd and 4th with the Fairfield Open, run by Macy Elliott.
15 love.
You think she'll be a playing tournament director?
Oh yeah, I think she can play. I think she can play and win, Mike. She won the event last year. Lynn and Macy won it. That was their 4th win of last season, and they won it over Hanish and Zabori. So she has proven that she actually is one of the rare people on the planet that can run an event and win an event.
Boy, do you see,
Mike,
I
you
mean,
did
if Lopez.
Oh, I was just going to say, tooting your horn for a second, you did a great job running the, what was that, the 95s out in Chicago during the charities?
The 90s. Oh, yeah,
The 90s.
that thing.
Yeah.
Relative to the team nationals, the 90s was a. I mean, it's a cakewalk. But is it too early to start talking about team nationals, Patty?
Oh, it's never too early, Mike. You've run it from the onset for the APTA. You are masterful in everything that you do around the team nationals. It's fun to work with you and fun to watch those tournaments just grow every year with over 500 men and women's players in last year's events. What's the date for the women's team nationals this year, Mike?
I believe it's the second weekend in April, the 10th and 11th.
30-15.
So a little
of April.
different weekends this year for the first time between the men and the women. It'll go back to the same weekend, but because of Easter, we had to switch things up a little bit. It'll be the last
it's-
weekend in March for the men's team nationals, hosted by Canubra Country Club,
40-15.
who's also going to host APTA Junior Nationals again and the national championships. Rob Scanoni
Boy.
and Blake Anderson are going to be running the Open Nationals out of Canubra. Busy, busy time of year in Summit, New Jersey, and everywhere in the paddle world.
Game, Lopez, Page. Elliott, Lalic lead 4-3 in the second set. Elliott, Lalic won the first set 6-3.
Mike, I like Page and Lopez. They're not going away. They're kind of quietly grinding out here. And like I said, they're not getting much help from Elliott and Lalic, but Page and Lopez, they're such a good team. That's why they're the tournament #1 seed. Finished last year ranked, second in the country. Played in 7 finals on the APTA Tour with 3 wins last season. And, they already have 2 wins in the early going here and, this season with the win at Montclair and the win at Baltimore.
Oh, unlucky leg cord.
Team
Yeah.
love.
Back-to-back shots there. Service let and then denied on the drive.
I like the move from Lopez and Page. They've got the speed and the quickness. Just
Yeah.
follow a return to serve in. Why not? Do something to try to, move the chess pieces around a little bit, against Lalic and Elliott here.
And I liked how Elliott, she stepped over and cut that return off, kind of thwarted their little blitz off the return.
Exactly.
Boy,
30 love.
see it, and I think to something that I'd mentioned earlier, potentially take that lob or that drivable ball and throw up a lob, because Lalic is all over that net.
Mike in the other semifinal, Hannah Zabori pulled out that first set, 6-4 over Nicolescu and Rodesno, and they are up 1-love in the second set.
30-15.
Great cutter here.
Wow.
40-15.
4 leg cords this game alone.
What a calm response there. She just let that ball come through, lines up that 2-hand, gets a little lucky leg cord. She was trying for
40,
another
30.
leg cord, Mike, on that
Yeah.
one, I think.
When you're hot, you're hot.
Go for it.
Deuce.
I almost would I'd like to see, if Lalic is staying back, why doesn't Page or Lopez, one of them, just go up to the net, Mike, and start the point up there and just apply some pressure right there? And then you force Elliott to make a decision, does she cut the ball off or not? But I think
Advantage, Lopez, Page.
and Page, are so good on their return of serves that maybe that's something they could think about.
Yeah.
They know she's staying back here. You see right away, Elliott just drops back. She knew Lalic was staying back. She saw Paige and Elliott move forward. She just got out of town. When you're outnumbered 2-1, it's good to leave.
Truer words have never been spoken.
Game, Lopez, Page. Tied 4 games all, second set.
A little bit of a roll here for Lopez and Paige, Mike.
Was that 3 games in a row? Is that right? They were down 4-1? Or was it 4-2?
4-2. 2 games in a row, Mike, though.
2 games?
2 games. Hey,
and counting, maybe.
They're thrilled that they got 2 games in a row. And this is going to be massive here, because I expect these guys just to tee off on this serve, on their returns in this game. Oh, boy.
Love 15.
See, Mike, that's an amazing thing. She went down, but she could get up.
I was going to say, she was athletic even in falling down.
Exactly. She looked good falling. You know, Mike, you mentioned that you'd like to see them, Lopez and Paige, play a little closer to each other. You know, when we watch, there's definitely like a decent amount of real estate in between the two of them, a decent amount of the time when they're playing the net. And like right there,
15 all.
Lalic, you know, hit that dipping ball, not, you know, a little off-speed dipping ball there. And I think she could have tagged it through the middle, and they'd be at the net right now.
It's a good lob.
Uh-oh. You know, and following those 2 drives from Lalic, and that ball went over to Macy Elliott, she threw up a lob up the line. I would have liked Macy just to keep swinging. I mean, Macy's got to realize that, you know, the offense that they put together back to back, it's very similar to what Lynn Burris did with playing with Macy Elliott. And, you know, I think the drives hurt Paige and Lopez because they don't close down the net going forward, and they don't pack it in side to side either.
Yeah, and, you know, you looked at the run that Lalic and Elliott went on in this set. It was basically that well executed. You know, they were dipping balls.
Oh my Lord. What great hands. Oh. A little frustration from Lopez right there.
15-30.
But again, just relentless pressure with Lalic over in that ad court. I love what she brings to the table over from that side. That's Paige serving. Lopez at the net. Lalic hitting that return, and Macy Elliott lobbing out of that deuce court. The music's picking up, Mike. I don't know if you can hear it.
Absolutely.
Possibly an error. Maybe they didn't realize it was such a crucial point. Shout out to Anthony Cosmano, one of our commentators. He agrees with our assessment of Paige and Lopez and how they cover the net.
all.
And because they both favor their forehand backhands, that opens up court naturally. And that's why when you can lock down that net and show a wall of backhands, it goes a long way to defend against the likes of the drives coming from Elliott and Lalic. 30 all, 4 all, second set, semifinals from Aronimink Golf Club in Newtown Square, Pennsylvania. I think we're in Newtown Square. Are we, Mike?
I think so.
You again. You. That's you. You again. You again. That's you. I got it. That's you. You. That's you.
See where
40-30.
Lopez dumped that ball, and Macy really made a big move to avoid hitting her two-handed backhand. Possibly the wrong decision that she made, kind of trying to force that forehand. But I think that's definitely the spot for Paige and Lopez, maybe to focus it on a little bit there.
And I think, I'd agree. I think Elliott has missed 3 of those long and then 1 into the net in this set.
I go. You go. You please. You go.
Mike, do you say please when you ask your partner to cover the lobs for you?
Only when I know I can't get to it and it should be mine.
Please hit that ball.
Please.
That's you. That's you. I go. That's you. That's you.
You know, Lalic got that let cord backhand down the line. They went for a winner, and I like how she's keeping them honest by going down the line with some shots. I don't think teams do that enough, Mike, sometime.
Yes. And especially if you've got any player that's, moving aggressively to defend one area of the court, namely the middle, that down the line just keeps them honest.
For sure.
Advantage, Elliott, Lalic.
That's a tricky ball for Lopez to be thinking about driving. I think she kind of second-guessed that decision.
Again, a big hole down the middle. That's where Lopez, I think, standing up there, starting the point, has to be looking to defend that. Maybe she was worried about her line a little bit just because Lalic has made her think about her line.
Yeah.
I love the move from Lopez out of that deuce court. Phenomenal. And,
Deuce.
when Elliott's backing up that much, when she's closer to the baseline than to the service line, she can't generate enough pace on an overhead to kind of offset, a blitzing opponent. So I love the play from Lopez right there.
And did you see how close to the net Lopez got on that ball? Wow.
Advantage, Lopez, Paige.
Wow, big swing right here. Break point against to 0.4. Take a 5-4 lead in the second set. Lopez and Paige are pumped. I think the music's helping them, Mike.
Yes. Game, Lopez, Paige. Lopez, Paige lead 5-4 in the second set. Elliott, Lalic won the first set 6-3.
Mike, it looks like Hanish Sabori are up 2-1 in the the second set on Nicolescu and Rodesno. They won the first set 6-4.
Well, that's another grinder too, isn't it?
Mike, I have a question for you.
Yes, lay it on me.
Just remember the number 7. Mike, how many former women's national champions are in this draw here at the Aronimink Open?
Boy, if it's not 7, it's known. It's got to be 7.
Spot on again, Mike. I mean, you talk about star power. You go up and down this draw. 7 national champions.
So among those 7, how many national titles are held?
Oh, a lot. A lot. Should we start counting them? Elliott?
I'm gonna have to take my shoes off.
Exactly. Elliott's got 4. All on her own. Lalic doesn't have them yet. Lopez has a mixed nationals that she won with Alvey. You have Gabby Nicolescu, 3-time winner, and she's won mixed nats once with Broderick. Redesno won women's nationals 2020 with Macy Elliott, and Hanish and Zabori, who have won 2 national titles together. And Hanish also has won numerous mixed nationals with her husband Martin Bostrom's and husband-wife nationals.
Boy, that's I lost count at 12.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, Martin Bostrom and Flora. I don't know the number, but without that number, there were 12 national titles.
We were 12 up to that point. Okay, let's.
Yeah.
So we can go to higher math, even though we don't have our doctorate yet. Yeah, I think Hanish has 3, 2 women's, maybe like 3 husband-wives, 2 mixed nats, maybe? Something like that.
Boy.
A lot. Hanish Zabori up 3-1 on Nicolescu Redesno in the second set.
Yep. Oh, I had it long. Yeah. I had it long.
Boy, a little frustration there from Elliott.
Love 30.
All of a sudden, down 4-5, down love 30. Glad she didn't hit her ankle.
Yeah.
$15-30.
Big point to win there. Lalic just following it back at Lopez.
Push serve, Mike? From Elliott right here? What do you think?
Boy, I think so.
Again, Elliott comes in, just hits that first volley straight ahead, and off they go. Wow, great dig from Paige from that ad corner. Mike, I'll tell you another big difference in the game that you see the women's game is how many screen errors have you seen in this match? 6-3, 5-4, all this. I mean, maybe 1 miss in the screens.
I was going to say less than 4.
Yeah.
We had, I think Lalic missed 1. She forced an error on a waterfall down up overhead to Lopez's corner.
And just when I said it, she missed
30
it.
all.
Of course.
Yeah, good overhead spin. The ball stayed down low. Page didn't come up with it. 30 all. If it goes 5-5. So, Mike, you're not going to believe who just walked in the room next to me. Allison
Santa-
Morgan, Chicago.
Wow.
Another one of Chicago's finest. Welcome, Allison.
Hi.
Allison, so you had a rough afternoon. Your buddy Charlotte had nursing an injury from the charities and really tried to play in front of her hometown crowd here. Couldn't pull it off here. And I see she's on babysitting duty tonight anyway.
I know, so sad.
But Allison, you came up against that newly formed team of Niculescu and Redesno. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We're at 30 all here, 5-4, second set. Gigantic point.
Oh,
40-30.
So Elliott was down love 30 in this game. 3 points in a row. And a point with an opportunity to tie it up at 5 all in the second set.
that was a brilliant drop shot. She had Lopez, backing up.
Deuce.
My quick shout out to my friends John and Ellen Birchnall, Summit, New Jersey, Beacon Hill Club, enjoying the action. They want to know, is Elliott foot faulting?
And no, because she's making contact, even though her foot is above. Well, I think on that one,
Ooh, that one looked like a twinkle toe on the line.
yeah, it was a.
Good call, John and Ellen.
But she can be floating above the court with that step as long as she makes contact with the ball before her right foot comes down in the court. But that is one of the calls that Jack Taylor in the booth will be making.
Advantage, Elliott Lalic.
Great shot of that hospitality tent. A lot of heaters, Mike. Ideal for everybody to enjoy the action late into the night tonight. Following women's semifinal action, then we'll go to the men's semifinals coming up following these matches. And I think Allison Morgan knows one of the competitors really well.
Yeah, just a little bit.
And you were out there watching the matches. You were cheering so much you lost your voice. We'll let you tell us about that if we get to 5 all here.
Patty and Allison. Oh, here's that drive down the line.
Game, Elliott Lalic. Tied, 5 games all. Second set.
One thing that we haven't seen from Lalic and Elliott is a switch in the backcourt. I know they held there. They'd lost 3 games in a row. Might see, it maybe shake things up here in the backcourt. I think Lopez and Page are looking a lot more comfortable up at the net.
Yeah, we'll see.
Give them a different look.
Yep. So, Allison, tell us how good that Niculescu-Redesno team could be. You found out firsthand today.
Yeah, they played very tough. They're very consistent, and then they both can just crush their forehands and bring pressure. They played very well.
I would say they'd probably be a pretty good return to serve team.
Yes.
And Gabby getting that roller going, I didn't get to watch any of that.
Yeah, no, she definitely had some great rollers.
Okay, and on the men's side, Adam and Graham, tell us they just pulled out one in
Had a
3
battle.
sets.
Yeah. No, Tyler and Flea played very well. They had to fight really hard for that one.
And when you guys flew out here, does Adam fly out with 7 navy armor, the blue sweatshirt and the gray sweatpants. Like, he must be an easy one to watch pack for these trips.
I know,
You
it's the
got to
same
pick
thing.
out your coordinating outfits with Charlotte, where Adam, no decision making.
I
He
know.
doesn't spend any time and energy on
It's the
his
same.
outfits. He's got.
Well, Allison,
We talk about superstitions, and he's got it
A little bit, yep.
what?
a little
He
bit.
was wearing shorts, wasn't he? Didn't I see him in shorts?
I know, after they lost the first set, I could tell he's like, I got to try something different. And so pants came off.
See,
There we go.
even the best players are defending national champs. Try anything.
Exactly.
Allison, were you outside watching some of the other semifinal, the Hanish Zabori, Nicolescu Redesno semifinal?
Just a little bit. Yeah, I
Okay.
watching with this one, yep. Some good paddle.
Were you around there, or were you watching Adam at the end of the first set in that match? Did you see Hanish Zabori close out that first set, or
No,
you were
I did not.
Okay. Wow, what a rip!
15 loved.
Torched that.
I mean, just the firepower from all four players. Allison, Mike and I have just thoroughly enjoyed watching this. It's just, there are very few safe spots on the court. Any short ball, it's punished by all of these four women.
No, that's exciting paddle.
Now, Allison, anything that jumps out at you if we were at the beautiful Birchwood Club, and you were lucky enough to have these four gals as playing on your Series 1 team.
Wouldn't that be a
would you
dream?
Yeah, imagine that. Power team. But if you're coaching this match, anything that jumps out at you? Areas to tweak, improve?
I know, you just got to really be on your toes with all these four because they can just really bring it.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Yes.
Allison, you're a super
15
fast
all.
player, kind of a sort of a counterpuncher type of player. When you see the firepower out here, does it intrigue you a little bit, and are you working to, like, what do you bring into your game at this point?
Yes, I think that's definitely one thing I would like to generate more speed on my drive, but I love when they bring it to me because I can use it off the screen with their overheads. But yeah, that's definitely something I would love to improve on.
And I mean, can you have the morning breakfast talks with Adam and just, Allison, there's the ball, hit it.
It's funny because when he hits with me, he's like, yeah, you can do it, Al.
Let's go.
Just do it.
Well, maybe you should think about a new color choice once you guys get healthy and we'll see you back on the tour after the new year. Maybe it's the gray and navy. I mean,
30.
it worked for one, Morgan. Why not another?
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Bringing the Navy hoodie, the Under Armour hoodie. I think we're onto something here.
I would stick with the leggings, though.
Yeah, I think that would be tough to play in.
No baggy gray spike pants
Exactly.
for you.
I want to
Come on.
trip.
Boy, she got to get out of jail free with
30
the
all.
volley.
She did, and I said, for them to come back in this set, they needed some help from Lalic and Elliott. They haven't given them much, but that was a gift. So 30 all, 5 all, semifinals. Aronimink Golf Club, the Aronimink Open Grand Prix event. Second Grand Prix on the tour. Mike, what's our next Grand Prix?
That's a great question, Patty. I'm
Okay.
so focused on this match.
I know, it's so hard because this is so intense. I'll give you a clue. It's January 23rd, 24th, and 25th out of the Weston Club. It's
40,
the Boston
30.
Open again. That's our next Grand Prix. 2 weeks later, we'll have Short Hills. And then the last Grand Prix of the year will be the week before the lead-up event to Nationals. The Midwesterns has been moved to a new date late in the season, February 21, 22. And that's 5 Grand Prix instead of 4. One of the changes the APTA made this season, and I think it was a great call. We love these Grand Prix, bringing all these great players together. So many tour events every weekend, but I love it when all the superstars of the game are all here together. Anderson
Yeah, and
are
that-
up 5-1, Mike, in the second set with a
5-1,
match point
boy.
on Nicolescu and Radesno, by the way.
You know, in the Grand Prix, Patty, if anybody doesn't know what, you know, we've got 5 tournaments that are designated, you know, as Grand Prix, kind of equivalent to the Grand Slams in tennis. I believe the prize money is a little bit bigger, kind of and it really does bring the game's top talent out. Nice pickup there.
What a good. Wow.
Do you think that was intentional?
Allison, don't you wish you could just put your arms out and they would just grow 3 feet longer?
Yeah.
And you could hit them?
That wingspan, that'd be
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Allison, how about the job Aronimink's done in hosting this event? What a facility. The grounds, I mean,
Advantage, Elliott,
Yeah, they've done a great
Lalic.
job.
I thought that looked long.
That was close.
And again, you see how Pejic and Lopez, they like their forehand volleys more than their backhand volleys. They come in fairly wide. And that's where I think Lalic and Elliott, if keeping that forward pressure, even following in a return to serve, they might find some gold.
Nice cover from Elliott on the neck there. See, I'd like to see in a point like this, I'd love to see them make that switch in the backcourt. Just think Elliott and Lalic are just getting a little comfortable up at the net.
It didn't seem like Lalic was fully committed with her legs on that drive, Mike, and that ball just floated long on her. Little surprising error. Yeah, really smart to let that ball go through and just use that back screen. Buy some time for Lopez and Page. Really good lob. Elliott went way back. She saw the pressure from Page out of that court and just switched the ball over to Lopez. What a combination of overheads we've seen here.
Yeah, they got her in the spin cycle.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. That was a
Well
good
played.
combination.
Wow.
Advantage, Elliott, Lalic.
All right, you think Lalic hits this ball, it's returned down the line? We haven't seen much of that tonight. I think, you know, multiple little change up.
Yeah.
No,
There's a backhand first volley from Lopez. Lalic took that ball all the way cross court, and B just set her paddle beautifully, let the ball come off. Here we go.
it's a game of
Dude.
fractions of inches.
Alison, do you like music in the background when you play?
You can really hear it. No, I don't mind music.
Do you like the Cranberries?
Yeah.
Isn't that who this is?
That's DJ Mike.
Yep.
You can make requests, and Mike he can deliver.
Can name that song in 6 notes. This is from like 1994.
Nice, with the year. Impressive.
shot.
A sneaky little shot right there from Elliott out of that deuce court.
You know, and Patty, our discussion earlier about the depth from the, off the net, that shot is much more available when Pejic and Lopez are playing, that far off the net. It just opens up the angles.
Yeah.
I think that's the second time that Elliott's hit a similar shot.
Whoopsie.
Might have to go to Jack Taylor for the call on that one.
Yeah, a lot of frustration from Lopez on that. She knew she had a good look. Just soared it. Again, I like how low Lopez came in and handled that volley beautifully. And, as a result of handling that with the backhand, that ball stays lower. It's a lower bounce. And that puts, that's why I would like both Pejic and Lopez to hit them more of those first volleys with the backhand when given the opportunity on the ball. It's just hit right into their body instead of getting themselves out of the way and potentially opening up the court for them on themselves on the next shot. Second lob long from Elliott here in the last few points, kind of surprising. But a battle. Lopez and Pejic are grinding really well here. There's no easy points against the firepower of Elliott and Lalic, and it just becomes a grind. Great pickup.
Oh my God.
Good cover right there. Yeah, you see how Lalic had her paddle down, so she could flip it over. That ball kind of came off. She didn't really know what was going to happen for certain, and she just had her paddle open and just threw up a lob. Allison, how many people that you teach, when they get in trouble, miss because they look like they're driving the ball? And even though they tell you, no, Allison, I was trying to lob, but their paddle face is not open to the sky.
And get it low.
That's right.
Yep.
Mike, name this group.
Boy, I'm gonna give me a minute here.
Okay. I like in this point, Lopez handling, playing that left position, handling more of the overheads. Kind of like what she's done so far.
Yeah, she definitely is mixing up and.
Yep, wide.
She was doing a great job of mixing it up, maybe one too many switches there.
What's it? Got a little bit. Yeah.
Just when I thought what she was doing was so cool. I guess not. But she's frustrated with herself that she just missed that. And it's kind of an interesting play to go back and forth a little bit because we haven't seen that, and they're trying to figure out some formula that makes Lalic and Elliott a little bit more uncomfortable from the baseline.
Well, I think the key is that they've got to be able to switch. If they're going corner to corner, she's got to be able to switch on her terms. That overhead, she was moving back off the net, trying to swing the ball from ad to deuce, and just shaved it a little too thin.
Easier ball if she were a taller player?
Maybe, but the weight transfer going backwards is a big determinant on kind of what you can hit.
Game, Elliott
Another
Lalic.
loose ball there.
Elliott Lalic leads 6-5 in the second set.
All right, well.
Elliott Lalic won the first set 6-3.
Go Jack Taylor. Well, Allison, thank you very much for coming in, and we're sorry you've lost most of your voice cheering on Adam this afternoon. And we wish Charlotte a speedy recovery, and we'll see you guys in the second part of the year.
Sounds good.
Thanks so much, Allison.
Have a good
Hot,
night.
hot tea, Allison. Hot tea.
Okay, thanks.
Maybe put a little bourbon in there too. A little hot toddy. Okay.
Thanks, Mike. All right, bye.
Take care.
You too.
All right, crucial here to start strong for Pejic and Lopez.
Yep, that's Lalic serving, staying back, which she's done throughout this match. And Lopez and Pejic have resisted going forward,
15.
even though the opportunity presents. Elliott's staying up there, not dropping back, and Lopez and Pejic are just playing the point from the baseline. And from what we've seen over the course of this entire match, they've done a better job from the baseline against Lalic and Elliott than they have from the net, but much improved play here as we're getting deeper into the second set.
Love 30.
You know, and you can have so many amazing long points, and all of a sudden, just two really quick points and a little bit of a hole for Lalic on her serve here. But, you know, last game they served, Elliott went down in a hole, and they ended up prevailing. She went down love 30, so I don't think the score is so relevant to them, Mike. You know what I'm saying? How some teams, the score affects them more than others.
Yeah. This could be a good test here down love 40 in the hole.
And Mike, if it goes to a tiebreaker, APTA now calls it a 7-point tiebreaker that we're playing. Used to be called a 12-point tiebreaker.
Game Lopez Pejic. Tied at 6 games all in the second set. Tie break.
And we're there.
We are there in a 7-point tiebreaker, Mike.
I never understood the 12-point tiebreaker, why they called it that anyway, you know?
I don't know. I think if you got your doctorate, you might find the answer to that.
That's right.
So, Mike, at the completion of this match, you and I are going to be on the call with a couple of our buds for the men's semifinal action. Any of us going to get a 4-hour one tonight, Mike? What do you think?
Well, I hope so. You know, I think that'd be a great way to end the night.
But with no ad scoring in the men's game.
I wonder what the longest match has been. Tournament match thus far. I think it's under 3 hours. Would that be a fair?
Yeah, I think about 2.5. Not sure who it was, but a couple of people were talking about that this morning. And the matches have definitely shortened up. Which is amazing for a paddle event like this with play at all the clubs, Mike. Everything's really run on time for most of the day.
Boy, Pejic is doing a good job there. She saw, you know, in the span of 4 overheads, she saw 4 different spins, 4 different shaped overheads.
Don't you love that overhead from Lalic? She just waited so long and then hit that low roller.
Yeah, the threat of the hammer coming out, and then she just gave it that low, easy roller. Boy, I like that change too.
Wow, and you can just see how much movement she's forcing Pejic and Lopez to do because of their overheads. You know, they have to go inside the baseline, way back against the back screen, you know, all within the same sequence of shots, you know, of a point. They demand phenomenal footwork from their opponents. And Page and Lopez probably have the best footwork of any team on the tour together.
But great first point to
One
start
love,
this tiebreaker.
Elliott Lalic.
And look at that down up. It's never one of the shots I could ever do well because I was too short.
You need a step ladder or get up on the chair with
Yeah,
Jack Taylor
exactly.
and jump off of there.
That's right, no one would notice. No, but Lalic, that's the thing. She has so many weapons when she's up at the net. Macy Elliott to serve. It's B. Lopez hitting the return out of the deuce court. Taya Page out of the out court,
1-1.
far side. And that's Leela Lalic up at the net. No surprise, Mike, a little slow down here. Tiebreaker.
Yeah. But, you know, we started out like a forest fire, you know, with the, I mean, just look at the first 4 games of the first set, how the number of drives,
2-1,
You know, it's like-
Elliott Lalic.
there were more drives than lobs, and they've really worked into a nice, comfortable rhythm, but definitely slowed things down significantly. Tell you, Patty, I've been pretty impressed with Lopez's serve. I mean, she has done such a good job. You know, where the other 3 players have kind of gone to this kind of push serve or an underhand serve even.
Yep, she brings it. She accelerates.
2-all.
And a really good serve, big pressure serve, really deep in the box. Negated, you know, Lalic. She just had to put a ho-hum boring drive in play that they could easily handle.
Good.
Not the
Threatened
time.
a little
That
too
was wide,
much
right?
there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, she was behind the baseline that time, and she didn't have the position advantage, you know, where Page was standing.
3-2, Lopez Page.
But Lopez and Page are thanking their lucky stars that Lalic went for that right there.
Yeah, we've seen, you know, a drive from Elliott and that drive a little bit wide. Probably want those 2 back. But hey, easy for me to stay in the booth, right? See, that was a bigger target, though. That was along that single sideline. There's some really good athletic hands.
Mike, I said again, I give a ton of credit to Pejic and Lopez, just their grind in the second set. No, there's been no easy point, really, for either team.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just getting tired watching Lopez and Page move their feet. I mean, wow.
I mean, that's the amazing thing about watching them. That's why I say I think they've got the best footwork on tour. They bounce and they're always ready. There's always like that split step, little jump bounce in case the ball comes their way. And then they're ready to make a step that can lead to an aggressive shot versus that they just have to move their feet close together, Mike, just to get themselves stable before they can pull the trigger.
Yeah.
There it is again, that Lalic on top of the net, hitting down, up, and that ball dying in those corners. Everyone's in lockdown. No one's willing to miss.
Oh. 3-all.
She was just pushed a little deep, Mike.
I think that, yeah, when you're out of that picture frame, you know, she was not in our field of vision. That pretty good indication that she's a little too far back to drive that ball.
But I've seen her make that shot a million times on an overhead that's hit with more pace, Mike. Lalic took a little something off that ball, and I think that Lopez had anticipated it was going to come in with a little more juice.
Uh-huh. Or she might have baited her into hitting that ball. She was on the move, you know, trying to recover. Wow.
Wow, this is sick, crazy good. Wow.
What a fantastic get. And we see, again, the presence of Lalic on the net. I mean, her wingspan.
And then we start again. You know, no one. Here they go.
We're right
here they
back
go.
to neutral.
Yep, exactly. God, you see how far Lopez is going over to play? She's so looking for a forehand there. I think that might have been a little too far, actually. And I like B. Lopez's two-handed backhand, but I know she likes her forehand more. What a great pickup. Keep that ball down low, avoiding.
Page.
I mean, that was crazy good again.
That was insane. Yes. We saw Elliott there thinking that Lalic was going to cut that volley off. As she's done so well all night.
Yeah. Taya Page going with that sidearm on that's literally an underhand serve. I think she was watching Matt Moyo, one of Philly's finest new young great players, playing with Ethan Leon. They make a phenomenal team. Went out in the quarters here, but their star is rising fast in the men's game. Love watching those guys play. See, I like that Paige slid way off the court. Just let Lopez do whatever she wanted with that overhead. And again, the early call. You go, you go. You got that down, don't you, Mike?
I do.
You go, you go.
It's my favorite word, yours.
So this is a 7-point tiebreaker. First team to win, get to 7, and win by 2, will prevail. See, that's the spot. Just dump it, because Elliott's not looking to tag a backhand in this match. It's not part of their kind of how they drew this match up and how they played out, and she's super disciplined. So because she's only thrown up lobs, you know, it's not a bad spot to go to.
Great volleys.
We've just heard from our fellow announcer, Mike, Lauren Mandel, who just said the reason we're seeing a little bit of that sidearm underhand serve from Paige is due to a shoulder injury.
You wouldn't know it on the rest of her game. Really good lobs.
And again, I like the variety that Lopez offers up for when she's in this position to the left of Paige from our vantage point from behind the court here.
That's a good point. Really good. Nice pickup from Elliott. She made that dig look easy.
Yeah, Laura Mandel pointed out that also Paige on her overheads, she feels it a little bit there, so maybe that's why we're seeing Lopez handle more of it.
Yeah, she's not really going after those overheads. Good low contact point, keeping some of the pressure off of it.
So, Mike, I think we're spending the night together because I think our semifinals. I think we're not going to be split up. I think we're just going to make a run. We're going to go from this.
We're just
match.
going to run it.
We're just going to run the table, and
I love it.
we'll get the Nunes Powers McNerney Morgan rematch from last year's 5-hour final of men's nationals. I think you and I have to eat dinner really fast after this match, Mike.
5-4. Lopez Page.
Pay your bills for the month.
Yeah, this is, wow, that'll be, I just hope this goes 3, and then we go, we'll just be here till midnight.
That's right.
The band must be taking a break, huh?
Well, they have to give us a breather, Mike. We can't dance the whole time we're watching paddle.
That's right. That's right.
That's Macy Elliott serving. Down 4-5. Second set tiebreaker.
Did you catch a seam there, Patty, that kicked the ball off?
Yep, I think so. A little unlucky there for Lopez.
Yes.
Page went for it.
6-5. Elliott
She did.
Lalic.
Unfortunately, it didn't go in. The court's only a certain length, and we have all of a sudden thought we were going 3 sets here, and we have a match point for Elliott and Lalic.
Maybe with a bum shoulder, I'd like to see maybe Page. Oh,
Game, set, match. Elliott Lalic. 6-3, 7-6.
So, Mike,
Thank you, ladies. Great match. Great match.
I
Great
mean,
match.
that was awesome, Mike, to watch, and it's a
That
bummer.
was really-
bummer for the shoulder injury for Page.
but boy, what a test of will and athleticism on both sides of the net. Patty, it was a real treat and a fantastic match, and unfortunately there had to be a loser to come out of there,
Yep, so Elliott and Lalic will play against Hanish and Zabori. Mike, we're going to wrap that up from women's semifinal action. Stay tuned, men's semifinals coming up. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
At Corient, wealth management begins and ends with you. We believe the more personal the solution, the more powerful the result. We treat your goals as our own. We never lose focus on the life you want to build. And our experienced advisors design custom-built strategies to help you get there. It's time for a wealth management experience as sophisticated as you are. It's time for Corient.
I am Florentina Hanish, and today I'll be giving a tip on how to start the match the right way. When I start my match, I like to start playing high percentage plays, so a lot of lobs, a lot of balls through the middle, and when I start driving, I go for 75% pace. I find that a lot of club players go for too much, too big at the beginning, but the muscles are a little bit tight at the beginning of the match, and then errors start accumulating. So beginning of the match, go for 75% pace, keep your swing nice and compact, and go a lot for the middle. For the beginning of the match, I would say for the first 4 games, that's when you should stay focused on playing a lot of high percentage. Once you have played 4 games and your muscles start loosening it up and you figure out strengths and weaknesses of your opponents, then you can start changing the plays. I am Florentina Hanish. I hope you enjoyed this tip.